as per usual, the TinyTitan. Although I am actually going to consider myself the not so TinyTitan now because I am making the Moosive. That's where you can join in, guys, and say, Vic, Vic.
Absolutely, Vic. Fucking monstrous.
Podcast. Not everybody watching the nodding is going to be a pretty useless trait, isn't it? So yeah, absolutely.
Thanks very much. Right, guys, so if you do not know, if you're not watching on YouTube and you're just listening onto the iTunes and various other bits like the Stitcher and all the rest of it, I don't really take care of that. Will takes care of all of that. I have got two very special people in my life and who is on the other side of the screen. The first of which being Mr. Ryan Kirkham, a fellow Strom athlete, don't you know? If nobody knew anything, he is a sponsored Strom athlite. So Ryan. How are you, lovely?
Just in case nobody knew that, I am sponsored by Strom.
Hashtag sponsored athlete. Right, Ryan.
Pestered Rick so much, he just like, yeah, go on, have it.
Just to kind of get off my back.
Yeah.
Just have it.
Been promoting your products for years. Come on.
Right, so for people who don't know who you are, Ryan, then just give us a bit of a rundown of who you are.
I'm rundown of who I am. I'm Ryan Kirkham, and I like to bodybuild. What do? I do online coaching, and I've been training since I was 16, and I'm now the tender age of 40. Yeah, training a long time. You'd think I'd be bigger, but I didn't know what I was doing till I was 30, really. So
fair enough.
Too much of being a lad in my 20s and pissing up the wall every weekend. I was one of them, just trained like during the week and then pissed it up the wall at the weekends.
Yeah. So you trained to get a pump.
Yeah. And then just went out on the piss all weekend.
Fair enough. So that is Ryan Kirkham, everybody. Fellow Strom sponsored athlete, a bit of an old fart in bodybuilding as well, just like myself. And fellow old fart as well, on the other side of the camera is Mr. Andy Poole. Andy Poole, how are you, love?
Yeah, I'm how is everybody? Everybody good?
Everybody's all right. They're not going to answer you, though, because it's not a live recording.
I know, I've just realised that again. I'm really good.
Well, you're so polite, Andy.
I know. So I'm Andy Poole. I don't online coach, which is rare these days because most people do, don't they?
Yeah.
I just work as an employee for the water company in the southwest. I've been training since I was probably 19, 18, something like that. I'm now probably the oldest in this podcast, 42 years of age. The oldest
yes,
in the room.
You are.
Yeah.
We're still got the youngest title here. Again, like Ryan, really, I suppose more serious for the past 15 years, and definitely really serious for the past 6, 7. Live for the weekend a little bit. You know, if your gym partner said, "Oh, do you know what? I might not go to the gym tonight," I was like, "Right, no worries," and I didn't go either. So, but yeah, it sort of has a way of grabbing you, and you start to take it more seriously, and then more seriously, before you know it, it's all you do. So that's pretty much it, really. I should be bigger as well, really. To be fair, a lot bigger. Why do you think that you're not Moosive yet, then?
Well, I don't know. This is it. Perhaps, again, just sort of not really knowing what I was doing when I started out. But that's a good thing, I think. It's meant that I've learned the hard way, and I quite like learning things the hard way, to be fair. Although, having said that, I look at some of the younger generation, the bodybuilders, the first timers, the novices, the juniors even. I think, fucking hell, do you know what I mean? If I look like you when I started training, these guys have only been training for sort of 6, 7 years, and it's like, Christ, where are you going to be in 6, 7 years? I've got 20 years doing. I don't look like that. So, yeah, there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more knowledge these days in the younger generation. Well, I say that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, just a little pinch of salt.
Yeah. Yeah. Should be bigger. Why am I not bigger? I don't know.
I haven't been eating enough cream of rice, apparently.
Yeah, you got to get your meals in, kids. Get your meals.
Can we just put it? We'll put it down to genetics.
Yeah, okay, we'll play that card.
We'll play that card, yeah.
Play that card.
We've all got shit genetics. We just work really hard.
And then piss it off the wall on the weekend.
Yeah. And if only we knew what we knew now back then. And all that shit.
We'd probably still do the same thing though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so the whole reason as to why we thought we'd actually get together on this podcast is because we are, well, a collective bunch of old farts, I suppose. So obviously I still hold the youngest title, so I'm going to claim that. That is mine. However, in terms of bodybuilding and in terms of making the best out of what we have right now, we have had various discussions, and when we've trained together as well, we have to train a little bit smarter when we're older, because as old farts, we are more predisposed to injury. So that is the reason why we thought we'd get together and we'd actually do a triple episode. So this is the first kind of introduction into bodybuilding when you are over the age of 35 and heading into the masters category or the over 40s category. We're then going to record a YouTube video of us all training together, probably just taking the piss out of each other as well, because that is what we do. And then we will do a round table with Mr. William Carver on the very last episode of Bodybuilding with the Old Farts. So if I can pass it over to you first then, Andy, because you are the oldest of the old fart crew. What is the one thing that you find different to bodybuilding now, as opposed to what you did, say, just 10 years ago? And then again, in relation to 20 years ago.
Oh, right. Okay. So different now. Supplements are a lot better. I will say that. What's different now in regards to the
shout out to Strom.
Shout out to
Strom. Shout out to Strom.
That's a tough question, really, because it's not something. I suppose what's different now. I don't really think about my training all that much. I take it seriously, but I don't really think about it that much. So I've never really been one to stick to a plan. I just kind of go in, train, do what I'm going to do and go home. As long as I'm going in and having a hard session and training, so I come out like I felt a little bit, like I feel battered, then I'm progressing. And that's kind of how I feel about it. I feel there's a lot of unneeded stuff these days in regards to sort of the way that people approach their workouts. But at the same time, there's a lot of decent and good information out there for people. Whereas before, say 10 years ago, even 10 years ago, there wasn't the wealth of information that there is now that you can kind of lay your hands on. Mm-hmm. Or, there certainly wasn't that many coaches. There seems to be every other person's a coach these days. So yeah, I think that's one of the big differences. And it seems there's a lot of younger people, like I said just a minute ago, when I started training, it wasn't that popular. Not that I can remember. Now everybody seems to be in the gym. It seems to be it's a very popular thing to be doing. It seems everybody wants to compete. You see a lot of younger people in the gym now. You never really used to see that. I don't know whether that's because the rave scene's crap these days, or whether it's just that it just seems to be more focused on people wanting to train. So yeah, that's one of the big differences. When I first started in the gym, it wasn't that popular. More people going out, and now it seems that everybody's in the gym. Even on a Friday night, it's busy in the gym.
And what do you think about your own kind of like self approach to it? So in terms of being an older person actually doing the bodybuilding, are there certain things that you are noticing now with your own body and your own approaches that are very different, like your recovery aspects, the amount of food that you can actually put in?
I constantly hurt
all the time.
I find that I can't lie on my side too often and too much in bed because my shoulders just don't like it anymore. But that's probably due to the fact that I still don't really take that much care of myself when I train, other than now, rather than going silly heavy for sort of fewer reps, I kind of work and listen to what my body's telling me. And I find actually that I recover better and I grow more if I do certain exercises with a lot less weight and a lot more volume. And that's been the approach I've used for the past couple of years. And just having a look at some photos, of myself, the progression that I've made when I look at myself, because you never really see it until you look back. And there's definitely been more growth that way than what there has previous to that. So that's kind of my approach, really. Yeah, I hurt a lot more, so I need to sort of adjust my training around that. If I feel like something's going to be a bit of a niggle, I'll leave it out. I'm not obsessive about having to get those particular workouts in or having to hit a certain rep range anymore, which is why I think I don't log things, because I can be obsessive, and if I haven't hit a certain number or a certain weight, then I'd probably walk out of the gym thinking, well, that was a crap workout, when actually it probably could have been half decent work, because it's not written down, or it's because I've not reached a certain target on that paper. It can turn my head very quickly into thinking that was crap and wanted to do it all again. Yeah.
And what about yourself, Ryan? Let's pass it over to you, because everybody who follows yourself on the Instagram pages will hear on a multitude of occasions that you are smashed and you are tired.
Yeah, it's just the age thing. So I suppose the way training's changed for me now, when I first started, say, like, let's say, like, in my mid-20s, it was kind of, I used to train with a couple of old boys, actually. Right. And it was kind of like, it was just proper, absolutely annihilate everything. And you get back into the changing rooms and you have to lay down on the bench for half an hour before you actually, like, leave the gym. Yeah. And that's pretty much what training was. It was just absolutely annihilate yourself, and just go in heavy all the time. And, and then at the end, it would be like, oh yeah, let's do some high rep stuff to, get the blood going and all that kind of thing. And then, yeah, well, I suppose there's a guy called Jim Stopiana. Mm-hmm. He was one of the first guys I kind of started following, because he was kind of one of the guys who sort of brought the whole sciencey thing to training. Yeah. And I always found that quite interesting. And I subscribed to a lot of his stuff, and I started following his workouts and things like that. And it used to be a lot of supersets and things like that. And the thought of doing supersets now absolutely destroys me. I just think, oh my God, how did I used to train like that? But then, yeah, I was in my 20s, so it wasn't an issue. And that's something you definitely notice as you get older, is your recovery. Your recovery rate is so much slower, and you have to be a lot smarter. Yeah. And then I suppose I went through the whole Jordan Peters phase. Yeah. Of, he made such a big dent on the industry of, like, you've got to do this all out, balls out set, and then your back off set. And I trained all like that, and yeah, it was great. I got really strong, but I also got really fucking injured as well. So it was like, it's just not feasible. To be honest, I just don't think it's not a clever way of training. And then the way I'm training now, thanks to my coach Joe Jeffrey, give him a shout.
Because sponsored athlete, don't you know?
Sponsored athlete, sponsored with the Physique Collective as well. Shout out to all them boys as well. We got to shout them all out. So Joe, I went from the Jordan Peters style training to getting a coach with Joe, because I saw what Joe did with Christian. Mm-hmm. Christian Chapman, for those who don't know, but everyone knows who fucking Christian Chapman is, don't they? I watched what they did together, and I decided that I wanted to, like, see if I could work with Joe. So that's how that sort of came about. And I kind of wanted someone to take the reins as well, because after I'd been coached by Jordan Peters and I left him, and then I was just doing my own thing for a bit, and it was like, do you know what, I want someone else to take the reins again now, so I don't have to think. And and it's always about, there's no right or wrong in this game. There's better ways, there's more efficient ways, there's optimal ways, there's ways that suit other people better, and all that kind of thing. But ultimately, I would say, like, the way I'm training now is the most progress I've ever made. It's more volume based. I'm a little bit different to Andy. I like to write everything down. Yeah. I like to know my numbers and stuff. But it's a different form of progression. So sets are always getting added. So rather than me going all out, balls out, trying to, add 1.25 kilos to a lift every week, it's just a set gets added.
Yeah.
The whole point is basically you're creating that volume, that progressive overload by adding sets. And I've actually been working in reps in reserve recently as well, which was another completely different new concept, you know. But also, it's, you know, you think, oh yeah, I'm going to be fine, you know, because we're working in monthly mesocycles, 4-week blocks, and you're like, you do the first week and you're working in 3 reps in reserve, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a doddle. And then you get to week 3 and you're working in 1 rep in reserve, and you're like, holy fuck, how am I going to get through week 4? I am fucked.
Yeah.
And then you have to do week 4, and that's like kind of the all out, balls out, push you into complete overtraining. And then you take your week off, which I'm currently on a deload at the minute, which was so needed.
Which is so needed. Do you find that when you come to that deload week, mentally you need that time off from the gym as well?
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that I've noticed from younger generations to older generations. They do not know how to take rest days or days off the gym.
Oh, completely. Like, I know when I was younger, like Andy was saying, you know, if we've got a niggle now, it'll be like, right, just fucking have a day off. Don't worry about it. Just have a day off. And I'm definitely more relaxed about doing that now, because Jesus Christ, you're not going to lose any muscle at all.
No.
It's just have a day off, let that recover. I mean, when I was younger, it was like, no, just push through it. We'll find a way. And, you know, and that's where all the injuries come around. And I think
that's why we're broken. I think that's why we're both broken, because we did just push through it all, didn't really think about part of it, and now we really wish we had.
Yeah, exactly that. I lost my train of thought now. This is also what happens when you get old. You forget what you're fucking talking about. Who are you?
Welcome to the podcast. Yeah.
Oh, I'm on a podcast. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well done. And we're back in the room. But what about yourself, Andy, in terms of like your mentality then towards resting and actually having some days off?
Well, I mean, yeah, so for instance, we were going to be doing this around 8 o'clock tonight, and I was going to go and train tonight, but I woke up and I thought, do you know what? I feel like I should have a rest day. That would never really normally creep into my head. I'd be like, no, you're definitely training. You've got to go and do it. You've got to go and do it. But no, I'm much more accepting of, well, I've always known that rest is important, but like younger, you're a little bit more silly, aren't you? You just do your thing. But now it's needed. My approach to rest is it's the most important part really of training, amongst other things, but you need that rest. And I'm you know, if I feel like I need to have a rest, I'll just take it. Like I say, I've got like a sort of a rough idea of what I'm going to be training each day, week on week and stuff like that. So I'm not completely plan free, but if I feel like, you know, tonight was meant to be such and such, but I don't feel like it, I'm easily be able to just sort of change to another muscle group, whatever it might be, or take a rest, rather than being like, nope, got to stick to the plan, you know, tonight's legs, no matter when you just smash through it. So yeah, rest being very important. I'm far more accepting of, you know, listening to my body and just doing what I feel like I should do.
I mean, I hate to actually use this particular phrase purely because it is us three, but when you get older, you tend to become a little bit more sensible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, I don't really want to use the phrase because it's us three. We are far from sensible.
to a degree.
To a degree. I know me and Ryan were actually speaking about this and saying, fuck's sake, we're actually going to do a podcast with all 3 of us on. Are you really sure that that's a very good idea? But it's true. It is true.
I told Vicar professionalism is just going to go way downhill.
Oh,
now.
Completely. Yeah, there's no professionalism in this whatsoever. But I mean, it's funny because even though I'm only like 3 years younger than Ryan and 5 years younger than Andy, I do have the same kind of sensible approach. So it's like if I have a niggle, so like my QL, my lower lumbar was a bit sore today. So I decided to actually do my deadlifts, but use a reps in reserve. And even as close to like 3 years ago, there would be no way that I would leave anything on the table, regardless of how niggly my back is. I would still kind of take those deadlifts to failure. But actually, speaking about these massive compounds as well, you guys don't do free bar deadlifts anymore, do you?
I haven't done it for a long time. Not for a long time. And I keep thinking I might like to get back to doing, to be fair, because I actually really used to like deadlifting, but I just haven't done it for ages. And yeah, I don't know why, to be fair. It's not because I seem to be all right with deadlifts. I don't get much issue out of it. RDLs and stiff legs, it's depending on where I'm at in my phases. If I'm putting some weight on, then RDLs and stiffs are right out, because that lower back pump, even carrying the weight to the fucking bar.
Yeah.
You know,
just walking around is bad enough, let alone loading your spine. It's like,
yeah, he's like, you know, oh, I can't reach that up there. You're getting the old lady to pass it down to you. It should be the other way around, you know. No, I've not done any sort of deadlifts for a while, but I'd like to get back into doing those because I like those, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of deadlifts. I love deadlifts, but I think it's also because I'm short, so I'm built for deadlifts.
Yeah.
I do like deadlifts, to be fair, but I haven't done an actual deadlift in a very long time. I've done
you know what should happen? Our training session is going to have a fuck ton of deadlifts in it.
Yeah, it is. That's what we're going to have to do. All of the movements. Yeah. How not to bodybuilders and old fart.
It's going to be good luck with that one, because my back pumps are savage at the moment.
Fucking hydromatic.
Exactly. Ryan, you were saying just like walking around is becoming a little bit harder when you start to put on some weight. Now, I was obviously we talk to each other all the time anyway. And when you said that you reached your pivotal point of 106 kilos, which now I know you are heavier than that now.
I'm 108 now.
108.
Honky boy. But yeah, it's obviously, there's, like I say, there's people out there bigger than me, but this is the biggest my body's ever been. And you forget, because obviously we were dieting for so long, doing the shows and stuff, you forget what happens to you in off season, and the little things like washing becomes a chore, because you're so fucking immobile. You need a sponge on a stick to like get to your armpit to actually like wash your armpit. Honestly, it's ridiculous. And I just think, how do these absolute monsters do it? Like, they must, like, it's just what's relevant to you, isn't it? Like, so this is the biggest I've ever been, and it's things like putting socks on in the mornings, like running a fucking marathon, because you bend down there and you're trying to get your sock on, and obviously everything's crushed by your legs. All your rib cage is crushed and everything, and you're down there trying to get your sock on, so you can't get any air in. You're battling away because you're not mobile at all either. So actually trying to reach your foot is a chore in itself. And then you come back up and you're like, oh God, and then you got to go and do it again to get the other sock on. So those little things. And then the back pumps was absolutely, it's just savage. I can't even I walk around to the post office like to send out deliveries and post and what have you. I used to do that walk on prep. It was like I need to get 2,500-3,000 steps in. I'll do a quick walk around the block, and it's like the post office on the way. That walk now absolutely cripples me. And if there was a chair halfway around, I would stop and sit on it, because you're just walking along like. And the thing is, you're trying to find the best position to walk in as well. So you're almost like clenching your glutes, and it's almost like this. You're bouldering down like this, like idiot carrying carpets.
Got the
water just to stop the back pump.
I mean, surely this is not a good thing. Do you know what I mean? That good feeling that you get. So that's why you can't do deadlifts, because you can't put on your socks.
Yeah. Basically, deadlifts get pulled out as off season. You get more further into off season. As soon as I start dieting again, I can start doing deadlifts.
Yeah, you start sprinting around the block to the post office.
Yeah. So some people would say this is why it's important to keep said movements in, and to stay with the cardio and keep that sort of aspect in, because it helps you in the long run, doesn't it? That's what people would say.
Well, I've kept cardio in this time round personally, but even I think just the weight has gone on me. It's like my cardiovascular system can't keep up.
Yeah. How much cardio are you doing now?
I'm doing 20 minutes in the morning, or I might sometimes I break it up into like 10 minutes. So I might just do 10 minutes in the morning just to get things moving. And then I might save 10 minutes for after a meal just to help with digestion and stuff.
Right.
And then I'm like a sloth. Like we all know, I'm as inactive as hell. So I usually hit around 8,000 steps a day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I tend to try and save it all for after I've eaten and just go for a 10-minute walk. Just to help with digestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to pull cardio out because I knew last off season how I felt. Like I just literally was like things like doing hack squats, like I was just absolutely blowing. My heart and lungs were gone before my quads were.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's more just try and help keep that performance up as well.
So do you think as you have got older, the more weight that you put on, the slower your cardiovascular system has got a chance to catch up to it?
Yeah, probably.
It's an interesting notion, isn't it, really? And especially because of the types of food that you're eating at the same time now, because you are so regimented with your food. I mean, both of you are realistically, you are both regimented with your foods. The types of food that you're putting in and the amount and the frequency that you're putting in order to grow, realistically, is that causing a detrimental effect to your aerobic capacity at the same time?
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, I think it has an effect to a degree. I mean, I seem to remember when I was younger, I was fairly quick at running. I was pretty good at the old 100-meter sprint. Long distance was never a thing of mine. So I think, to be honest, I never really had that aerobic capacity to stay in power, if you like, in regards to sort of, long cardio sort of bouts. But sprinting and stuff like that, I was always quite quick. But I don't sprint anywhere now, to be fair. I'd probably snap an ankle before I just did anything.
I would definitely lose a hip flexor.
Hip flexors, Achilles.
I would definitely lose a hip flexor if I sprint. Because I remember messing about with my daughter, right? We were having a walk and we were messing about and we were playing, like I just decided to play it with her. So we're just walking along and I went, "You're it." And I went to sprint away and I sprinted off and then I took about 10 steps and then my hip flexor just went, no way. And I was crippled. I was like, oh my God.
Dreadful. Now let's just kind of like move on to the food element of things as well, because this is something that I think is quite poignant. That's a good word, isn't it, for this time of night? Poignant. I think it is, because a lot of the young people that I coach at the moment, if they veer off plan and if they have a meal off plan with their loved ones and that kind of thing, their head goes west. Or if they have a poor performance in the gym, they don't warrant the food in their heads. They don't warrant the food because it was a poor performance. Does that make sense? So I think it's like batshit crazy, personally, because one, I love food and I love eating. And two, if I want to have a meal with my family and then I'm going to have one, you can macro it or you can have it off plan. So what about your mentality in terms of eating different foods and being able to fuel your specific days? Has your mentality changed since being younger and being more sensible? Or is it now like, well, no, it's my lad's birthday, I'm going to have a piece of cake with him and fuck it?
It's a strange one, really, for me, because I think when I was younger, I didn't seem to care so much. Now, I seem to be, if I'm on prep, then I won't go outside of it at all. And I
think prep's different, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you take an off-season scenario. Then if it's Judd's birthday, for instance, I have Judd every other weekend, and I always ask him what he wants for food and stuff like that. We'll go out, and I'll always have something with him because so I'm fine with that now. But I will stay fairly regimented through the week and on the weekends that I haven't got him, just because I can take it anyway. I can have it or I can't. It's no biggie. Do you know what I mean? I know I can have it, so then I don't have it. Does that make sense? It's a strange sort of Yeah. I agree. I think as well, when you're eating a higher volume of food as well, you're more associated all the time. So you don't have those cravings of like, oh yeah, do you know what? I'd love a pizza. That would go down a treat, because you're full, you're satisfied. And you're probably like me, like I like what I eat anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I enjoy the foods I'm eating. That's the whole point, isn't it? Is to enjoy what you're eating. So it's not a hardship.
Yeah, for sure, sure.
But I definitely when I was younger, I was definitely that person of, oh yeah, if I didn't train as hard or I didn't train very well, like, yeah, I'm not going to have that bit of food. Or, you know, I think definitely as you get older, I've got more relaxed with it, especially, I mean, prep's different, you know, everything's bang, 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 bang down to the line, isn't it? But certainly in this off-season phase, like, I have an off-plan meal once a week anyway. So, you know, but then also I think when you can just be that bit more flexible as well. So if someone says, do you want to go for dinner midweek or whatever, or, you know, you kind of like, yeah, I can just count calories, use macros, whatever, you know, and it's not a hardship.
I've even point where I don't even care about that anymore. You know, I don't really know what I have week in, week out in regards to calories or macros. I've got an idea because it's written down on a piece of paper somewhere. I don't really worry. I used to track macros and calories quite religiously when I was a bit younger, and I kind of just got annoyed with that. So I don't even worry about that so much now. So I won't even try and make it fit my macros. If someone asks me to go out, I'm going out and I'm having some food, and I'm not worried about it. And I think almost kind of intuitively, the day after, I'll probably just remember that I had something before. I won't feel as hungry or whatever it might be, and there might be a meal skipped or something along those lines, or I might have all my meals and not worry about it. All sort of sorts itself out in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just keeping on the idea of mentality, one thing I wanted to speak to you about, Andy, as well, is actually you comparing yourself to the younger guys on stage, because recently you competed at the FitX finals, and you decided to go up against some of the younger guys in the class 2s.
Right,
So how did you feel actually getting on stage with the class 2 boys?
That was a hell of a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I mean, I didn't feel that I took, I mean, it had been a long season, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed all my time on stage, especially, you know, going up against Ryan, and that was really good fun. But that class 2,
that was everyone's highlight.
Brilliant. Going up on that class 2 lineup, I knew that I was up. I suppose well, you should never really count yourself out, but I knew that I was going up there, and I was just going up there. I knew I'd had it in my head that I wasn't going to place anyway, so I was just going up there for the shits and giggles, really. But I fucking thoroughly enjoyed it, and I didn't have.
I did say to you as well, you didn't look out of place up there.
No, that's the point.
No, I spoke to you after, and I was like, "How did I look up there?" And you were like, "Mate, you look really good." And actually, having looked back at some of the photos, I was like, wow, actually, I don't think I look too bad up against the rest of those lads. You know, there were some fucking good physiques up there. I think to myself, that I have taken the package that I brought earlier in the year, I would have probably done fucking fairly well, to be fair. So, I think it didn't faze me at all. In fact, it was a lot of fun, and it just made me really want to carry on doing it. Which is a shame because I've retired, but never say never.
Never say never. That's it. When anybody says that they're going to retire, it's not. We'll see you again in a year or two.
We'll give you a few years, and Randy will be reunited.
Yeah,
that's funny. No, it was just an interesting one, because obviously when you are up against all of these big mass monsters now, because I mean, let's face it, some of these young guys are mass monsters. They're freaking huge.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can play a part in your mentality, because us as bodybuilders, we're always comparing ourselves to everybody else, aren't we?
It's a funny thing. I mean, I'm always a little bit like that anyway, whether I'm, you know, backstage, on stage, just walking down the street. there's always a little bit of me that's just kind of like, when people say to me, no, mate, you're quite big and all the rest of it, I never, ever believe it. And I know that's probably the thing with, if not all body, but I never really believe it. But then there'll be times where I catch myself, a reflection of myself stood up, or look at the photos against these other people, and I'm like, actually, yeah, they're right. So I'm always playing myself down in my head anyway. And I think, having chatted to some people, like, you know, some people that I follow and mean a lot to me, and they say, no, you really should give yourself a bit more credit in that respect. So that's good. It kind of gives me, it takes away that sort of overthinking part of it, really.
That definitely bodes true, is that you just never see yourself as being big.
No.
Like I've always looked at Andy and thought, fucking hell, he's monstrous.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, like now I've competed with him and I look at the photos, I'm like, actually, I'm of a pretty I'm basically the same fucking size.
And the weird thing, I feel the same about you. I'm like, fuck me, look at him. He's
it's so bizarre because you can never see it yourself. And it's not until you look at a photo and you might be standing with some people and you're like, Jesus Christ, I do look big. Is that me? Is that really me? But like, when I look back at the stage photos, I'm like, well, me and Andy are basically the same size, but he looks massive. I don't look like that.
It's all this self-perception, isn't it?
Yeah. Whenever I come in to give you a cuddle, I'm always like, I can't reach around you. You're just fucking wide, like. And I always feel like this really small person giving you a cuddle, and you're like, fucking hell, mate, you've grown. And I'm like, what?
See, now you're living in my world every day. But the thing is that I am always small. Now we are coming up on time, so we might have to actually like cut this, and then I'll send you a new link, and obviously I'll splice it all together. There are a couple of other things that I want to just kind of like talk about, and I know that Andy, you've got other commitments at 8, so it's only going to be like another 10 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording. I'll send you a new link. Just go on to that new one, and I'll splice it together. Okay. And we are back for part 2 of the splicing type thing. So Andy has just actually had a little bit of a chat off air in talking about being old and trying to put socks on in the off season. And he's actually going to show you a tip of what to do.
Yourself, I mean, that's about 1.5 foot. That is. It's about 1.5 foot long shoehorn. It's a special tool. You can scratch your back with it. You can things with it, but more importantly, you can put your shoes on with it. Because when you can't bend down there, you just pop your shoe on your foot. Well, you all know a shoehorn works, but it's got that length to it, and you know
it's got length. It doesn't have girth, but it's got length.
yeah. Apparently, important. It is when putting shoes on. I know that much.
Oh dear Lord. And there are the innuendos. Right. Okay. So moving on from length and girth and shoes and things like that. I never have a problem putting shoes on, I have to say, even though I am Moosive now. I don't have a problem doing shoes on. Do you know why? I wear sliders.
They say you either wear Crocs or sliders.
Yeah.
Exactly. So much easier. That's the whole reason why JP did it when he was so massive, because he literally couldn't put shoes and socks on. So that's the reason why I walked around in flip-flops all the time.
It makes perfect sense. I never thought of that.
The brains.
It went like trying to walk in sliders and flip-flops for me causes me no end of calf pump. It's just ridiculous. So it wouldn't benefit. Well, I suppose you get big calves. Actually, yeah, thinking about it.
I suppose you would get big calves.
I don't think you need any help with that. Maybe I need to start walking around in sliders.
Yeah.
Is it more like a calf pump or is it more like shin splints?
Well, it's a bit of both, to be fair. Shin splints, calf pump. Yeah, like, you know, sort of deflection of the foot there. You know, it's. I find that I'm always concentrating on trying to grip the fucking thing to my foot, and that I'm going to lose it otherwise. Yeah, so
certainly can't sprint in flip flops.
No.
Right, okay. So moving on to the...
That's the only reason we can't sprint.
Yeah, that's the only reason why we're not sprinting. Because we wear flip-flops. Right, moving on to the last little bit, obviously, I know that we're just going to have a laugh when we do our YouTube video in training and that kind of thing, because it is just going to be for the shits and giggles. But on a serious note, if we can be serious for a second, one thing I did want to talk to you guys about was performance-enhancing drugs. And your mentality towards those now as older athletes. So I am of the big mental belief that you should always try and get the most benefit or the most response from the smallest amount. But what did you think has changed in terms of your mentality from being younger and exposed to pets?
I think it's just that, is getting the most out of as least as possible. Because obviously anything you're putting into your body is causing, you know, it's going to cause a reaction and all the rest of it. And I think that's why also just getting blood work done and this kind of thing is just such a must if you're going to use any form of performance enhancer. Definitely, like, I never did any of that when I was younger. And I've experimented around with stuff. Like, I can give an example. I remember when I did, I used to run 3 shots of sus, 250 milligram sus a week. And I did that. And then I decided, because obviously more is more.
Yeah.
I did 5 shots of sus a week at one point.
5
shots of sus. Yeah, this is and I got no other benefit from doing that compared to 3 shots.
No.
Chances are probably 2 shots would have been enough.
Yeah.
And all it did was burn a hole in my pocket. I got no extra benefit from doing 2 extra shots of sus a week at all.
5 shots. Did you decide to do that yourself, or did some bro tell you to do that?
No, yeah, I just kind of took it upon myself.
Really?
Someone was like, "Yeah, we've got this new Polish sus. It's the nuts." I'm like, "Yeah, give it to me."
The one when someone in the gym got
And then
this
I was like, "Well, I did 3 shots last time round, so I'm going to do 5 this time round." And
because bro,
pointless.
Yeah,
Right.
pointless. So do you find realistically then that you're more conscious about your health and longevity in the sport now that you are older, as opposed to not realistically thinking about it properly when you were 18, 19?
Oh God, definitely. Definitely. And that's kind of why I went with Joe as well, because Joe's very knowledgeable like on pharmacology and what have you.
Sure.
And since I've been with Joe and I've had my blood work done, as far as someone using anabolics, my blood work is tip top. So
as opposed to top tip.
As opposed to top tip, yeah.
Being upside down. Yeah. No, I think these are really good conversations to have, because even though people can kind of like look at us and go, oh, yeah, you know, this is this, and yeah, we know you're going to be a little bit kind of like, you're going to have injuries, you're going to have soreness, you're going to have niggles and all the rest of it. But actually, it's really worth considering when you are younger to stop all of these kind of things from happening, because we're experiencing this now between the ages of 37 and 42, when realistically, if we had been a little bit smarter, I don't know, 8 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that, we could have possibly stopped this from happening so much. Do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And the problem with it is now I'm realising it. Now I'm realising I should have probably started to take care of myself in regards to sort of stretching out and whatever it might have been sort of 10, 15 years ago. It's fucking hard to sort of implement it now. You know, when anybody says, oh, yeah, get the foam roller out before you do each session. I've got time for it, but mentally, I ain't got time for that. Do you know what I mean? I'm the type of person who goes to the gym, gets the job done, goes home. And when it comes to sort of like stretching, foam rolling, you know, doing some sort of banded work, whatever it might be, it's hard to fit into that routine now. Whereas if I'd have started doing it when I was younger, if it was the way I started doing things, it wouldn't be a fucking struggle. It'd just be something I'd do. So if I could turn back the clock a little bit on that, I'd definitely do it all over again. It's I had that, you know, if I listened to this podcast back then, sort of thing, do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And what about you, Ryan? Do you do your mobility?
Don't abuse your drugs, kids, and do your mobility work.
Exactly, right. Top tip of the day.
Yeah. I am getting better at implementing mobility. I'm getting better, but again, it's this whole off-season scenario. It's like no matter how much you stretch, you don't seem to actually get anywhere with the stretches, because you're just piling on more weight and you're just getting even more immobile. And you get to that kind of point where you're like, why am I bothering? Because I'm not actually getting any more flexible out of this. But I still think it's quite necessary. I'm one of these lazy buggers. I just pay for massage now. I'd rather someone else manipulate me. just let me lay here and you fucking bend me about all over the show. But yeah, definitely put a lot more emphasis into recovery now than I ever would 10, 15 years ago. Because we can only train as hard as we can recover and all that.
Well,
right?
yeah,
that is right. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
You did well done. Yes, there's that Alzheimer's kicking in again, right?
Yeah, but, was that the right? Did I get that right way around? Yeah, I did.
You see, now I've lost my question. I had a question and
you
made me
catching.
It's catching. Even over a bloody Zoom call, it's catching. Seriously, I don't know. I'll probably come back to that if I remember it. But Fair enough. Okay, so looking forward to obviously training with you guys in the next episode. Obviously, that's going to be hilarious because Will's going to be there as well, who is like one of the youngest Strom representatives. He's not an athlete because he's the athlete manager. So he's going to be with us and obviously throwing some stuff around and telling us to do some things. So that's going to be very interesting. But to sign it off, I suppose, is there any specific like tip or some kind of, I don't know, logical thing that you want to tell people out there in terms of consideration before you reach the tender age of over 35 bodybuilding? Wow, fountain of all knowledge here, guys.
I think I said it already. Do your mobility.
Do your mobility.
Do your mobility, sort it out. Oh, no, I remembered what I was going to say. So talking about recovery, in terms of sleep and routine and things, because Andy, you were talking about routine at the same time. Have you guys actually started to implement a sleep routine, as in like a hygiene base or something that you can really do every single day to optimize your sleep? Because sleep is the best recovery that you can get.
No, in simple terms. I like to try and get to bed before 10:30. Never really happens. I always end up, going to bed a little bit later than that. Sometimes a little bit earlier. That's about the only part of the routine I've got, which doesn't really get stuck to by the sounds of it. No, I haven't really got a routine. Sleep routine. I don't have a TV in my bedroom. Actually, that's a lie. I would never have a TV in my bedroom. Not got a TV in my bedroom. I suppose, having my own house and stuff like that. If I want to watch TV, I'll watch it in the front room. I won't watch anything in the bedroom. My phone goes in there, sadly, because it's my alarm. I had an alarm. I still have the alarm, but the sound of the alarm was so shrill that actually I thought, I'm not fucking using that. I started waking up like I'm being attacked by a knifeman. It's horrible. So I just put my alarm, my phone's back in there as my alarm, but that's the only reason why my phone's in there. I won't look at my phone in my bedroom. So that's kind of a routine, I suppose, in that respect. That's about the only part of it, really, is routine. Yeah.
And what about you, Ryan? Now, obviously, I know the answer to this one.
Why is my sleep shit?
Exactly.
But do you know what I'm really good at now?
Go on.
Napping.
Oh, are you really?
Oh my God. Like I fell asleep, so I had to whip to my mum and dad's today. And I had what would normally be my post-workout meal. So I had cereal today. And I ate that and I sat in the recliner and I just felt myself going. And it happens every post-workout meal now. I'm just like, oh yeah, off, bye, gone.
That's the best sleep. That's the best sleep. When the post-training nap, after the carb coma nap post-training, the best sleep in the world ever.
So now I can be asleep for about an hour normally.
Oh really? That's not a nap. That's a sleep.
That's not. Well, that is like a full-on sleep for me. To be
40 minutes. 45 minutes.
My evening sleeps are shite, but they're getting better. They are getting better. I'm a bit of a night owl. I always try to aim to get to bed by 11, but it never happens. Like it's normally 12 o'clock by the time I get into bed.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I don't do one-to-one PT anymore, so I don't have to get up at 5:30 in the morning. I can kind of get up whenever I want.
Very nice.
So, like this morning, I laid in till 9 o'clock.
Oh goodness!
I was awake. I was awake at 7. And I only woke up once last night as well. So that was like a record for me. I woke up once in the night for a wee and I went back to sleep. And then I woke up at 7 and I was like, do you know what? I'm still tired. I'm going to just lay here for a bit. And then before I knew it, it was 9 o'clock.
Goodness.
Student life.
It is like student life, yeah. So my sleep is getting better, but it could always be better. Like say, I need to get the oxygen mask sorted out because
yes, you do. How many times have I been telling you that for now, Ryan?
Forever.
Yeah, forever.
Didn't you go through a period of wearing blue light blockers, Ryan? For a period of that, where you tried? I did.
Yeah, I've tried the blue light blockers, but apparently the research on it says it's all dog. Well, everyone's got an opinion on it, haven't they? Like anything. Like some people say, yeah, it works. Some people say it don't. Well, I'd wear them in the evening. if it does something, does it? I don't know.
Most of the people I used to see on Instagram and stuff like that, they were doing their stories of an evening time that's all wearing blue light blockers. You no longer see them wearing blue light You no longer see them wearing blue light blockers. I think, again, like I was saying earlier on, with sort of like training techniques and things like that. There's these things come and go, don't they? You know, it's there's a lot of that.
Like leg warmers.
Bring back the leg warmers.
Bring back the leg warmers. They'll be back in fashion. They haven't been in fashion for like 5 years, so they'll be back.
They must be coming back now, surely.
I'm
sure I've seen people wearing leg warmers, to be fair.
Start the thing.
Yeah, bring them back.
Those neon pink and neon yellow ones.
That's it. Some.
Yeah.
I think we should do that in the YouTube video. I'll buy us some leg warmers.
I think so.
Yeah, that would work.
I think that would work. Dear God. Right, okay, so fabulous. Right, so I know that I am conscious of the time, because I know, Andy, that you have some other commitments that you need to get to very, very soon. So on that final note, I think that we shall carry on in the YouTube video when we are all together. I'll make you both look small, or try my best to, at least. And we shall carry on bodybuilding like old farts in the safest manner possible, and try and educate people to do bodybuilding in the over 35s a bit more better. Yeah. Dear God, how good is my English at the moment?
That sounds like my English. That does.
It's catching, right? Honestly, you've got to stop hanging out.
You've lost brain cells from this podcast.
I have, right? Honestly, professionalism out of the window. Right, so guys, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. For all of those out there listening, please stay tuned for the second episode, which is going to be not a live YouTube, but a YouTube done by Mr. Will Carver of Express Media. Big shout out to Will, because he's Big Willie. And I shall catch all of you guys on the next episode then.
Nice.
Excellent. Bye-bye.
See you later.